So I'm going to talk about a few things that I normally talk about, which is how we spend your money in terms of infrastructure. And one of the things that's a big ticket item is we have a parallel computing system that is managed by the campus. It's called MEO. The Center for Wave Phenomena has purchased 53 nodes on MEO, which adds up to 712 cores. And it's, think of like $1,000 a core for something like this. Because, you know, we're not managing this. We probably pay a little bit more than if we were managing it ourselves, but it's a lot easier, a lot more efficient. There's about 2 terabytes of disk space per node. This is our parallel computing facility, which probably is tiny by industrial standards. Personal systems, everybody gets a multi-core 64-bit machine on their desk, either a Mac or a Dell PC. I would mention that for people who are interested in Linux, I've given up on Fedora. I think Fedora has gone off the deep end, and I think that Ubuntu seems to be okay. I've done a couple of Ubuntu machines, and that's what we're going to be moving to. There's a lot of utilities in Ubuntu, and it's a lot more stable than the last time I tried it, which I must admit was several years ago. We purchase for the students commercial software if they need it, if it's reasonable, and that includes the usual suspects. But I would say that we are also looking for open source alternatives whenever possible. But we have the interest of our students. We want them to be able to do their research. So if they need something like COMSOL, we're happy to get a COMSOL license for them. We have open source repositories, projects. And I guess I want to think of this as like in the modern world, we're more decentralized in CWP because we are sort of several subgroups. And so we have families of software that are descended from different lineages. And so these have different archives. Dave's Java tools, which are the Minds Java toolkit. Madagascar, of course, which is a very popular system for research and processing, which is Sergei Fomel's project with Paul Sava. So, and of course, I've been doing Seismic Unix now for like 27 years. Each of these has their own lineage of software, and there's no such thing as really a standalone program. You know, you have a package, and you have an archive for that package. So I will say right off the top, I do not have a central location for the software created by everyone at the meeting. If you are interested in something, I would certainly say to you, please talk to the student, talk to the faculty advisor if you're interested in their software. Once we get something together, we make available information on how to make use of it on the sponsor webpage so that we have equal access for all members of the consortium. And we're very big on this, but things have gotten big. You know, it's not like the old days where I would just have a handful of codes that were all at SU, and it's really quite different now. I want to talk about some of the things I do at CWP. Put out release 43 revision 5 of SU. SU is Seismic Unix, our free open seismic processing environment written in C. And I also have a new project called Open C-Size, which is really a package called C-Size that was created by a fellow named Bjorn Olofsson. Well, he went to work for an oil company, and so they didn't want him in an open software business, so he signed over the C-Size package to School of Mines, and we released a new version of this as Open C-Size. And this is a sort of light graphical user interface driven seismic processing and seismic data viewing environment. And it's something that I think is going to absorb more programs out of the SU package, and I think will become increasingly useful as time goes on. I think it's useful now. I think there are people that like this. There are both Linux and Windows versions of this code, which makes it somewhat popular for people who use Windows machines. I teach seismic data processing lab with Walt Lin in the fall, and I use SU. We have the students process a line of seismic data. If you want to know about something that would be big in SU right now, well, some of the students took the initiative to do pre-stack time migration on this data set. We really were just doing post-stack processing that we required of the students. And they went ahead and did this and suffered all the little difficulties that you suffer when you try to drive something in a slightly bigger data set than it was tested for initially, and they were successful. So that kind of information I'm continually capturing into improving the seismic processing lab. I also do an open seminar for mathematical topics driven by student questions. It's something that I think we really need to have is more mathematics. As Roel had said earlier, there are areas of mathematics that we no longer teach students because somehow we think that MATLAB or Mathematica will fill those voids. And I think that there are topics that we really need to continue covering, and who better than to ask the students when they're frustrated, well, you know, what math topic would you like? And I never have a problem finding topics. SU, my project, I would say verified installs 5,000, but the real large multiplied by 10 probably in terms of the number of actual installs out there in the world. List server 1,200 to 1,300. I estimate 10 downloads per day, but you don't really know like how much of that is just automated bots, you know. We have counted up the country codes, about 83 countries and territories. Basically, it's holding the same level of interest that it's held for the past decade. So that's really all I want to say there. I do have a few new codes. Eckert Tesper gave me some modeling codes using a multi-spectral method that Dan Kozlov created. I also have some items from a gentleman named Ramon Carbonell using something called the S transform. There was a fellow named R.G. Stockwell who invented this window, this smooth windowed Fourier transform, a kind of wavelet transform application. Unfortunately, they think that it's me that did this, and so now everyone is saying, well, Stockwell, why don't you have the Stockwell transform in there? And, well, I would say back, well, that's R.G. Stockwell, that isn't me. You know, if you want to write it, I'll put it in. Well, someone did write it, and I did put it in. So I do some things for the SEG. I'm the editor of Bright Spots, and so you saw some discussions about autofocus, and Marchenko was mentioned, and what have you. In the May-June issue of Geophysics, you're going to see some papers on that subject. But in the Bright Spots column, you'll see, in the leading edge, you'll see a little short discussion of these and other papers which are of interest. I'm also the SEG Wiki administrator. The SEG has a wiki. It's like Wikipedia. It uses the Wikimedia software. And that's the address, wiki.seg.org. So I would encourage you to take a look at this. This is becoming useful. We launched, it was not quite 2 years ago, with Sheriff's Dictionary. So it's one of those things, you think, well, you create it and they will come. We put, with the permission of Bob Sheriff, the entire contents of his Dictionary of Geophysical Terms into the wiki as seed material. And that got some interest, you know, but only among really die-hard, nerdy tinkerers of wikis. Carl Schleicher has been putting open data repositories up as links to these repositories as wiki pages. He's got about a half a dozen. Some of it is real data, some of it is synthetic, most of it is seismic. I think there is one thing for gravity, or maybe they're proposing to put some gravity data up. Why not all geophysical data could be talked about in this wiki and pointed to? Matt Hall has started putting tutorials from the leading edge into the wiki. These have been well received. Just got a couple of them in there, but we're getting a lot of positive comments from those people who are very interested in seeing tutorial material easily available in a wiki page environment. I've been interested in doing a virtual museum, an update of the current virtual museum which exists, which is pretty rough. And so I've been doing biographies. That means, well, whose biographies do you do? Well, former presidents of SEG, Morris Ewing Medal, Kaufman Medal, Karcher Medal, honorary membership, life membership, special commendations, best paper in geophysics, honorable mention, best paper in the leading edge, etc. Okay, so that's a good start. But anybody who wants to edit these pages, if you are a member of SEG, you can get a login set up And you can log in and edit these pages, so why not put your own biography in there? Why not put in pages on papers that you have written recently? How about a paper on, how about a wiki entry on autofocus? We have the world experts of autofocus, if not in this room nearby. You are the world expert on any topic that you publish, and so put some sort of thing in the wiki, and you'll find that it's the first thing that a reviewer is going to do, the first thing that a new person who's reading an article is going to do is they're going to go on Wikipedia, they're going to go on Google, and they're going to search for that particular key phrase that describes the thing that you're doing. So for me, the biographies started out as a historical thing, but I think that they really are more of a professional contact and profile utility. Andrew Geary, who's an employee with the SEG, has updated the SEG's page on Consortia, so you can go in there and find all the research consortia. If you see somebody missing or whatever, you can either edit the page yourself, or you can send email to Andrew, or send a message to Andrew or myself, or anybody whose email address appears in the wiki territory. This is another professional contact utility. We've just barely scratched the surface on the potential usefulness of the wiki. There's going to be a Wiki-thon. It's Wiki-thon 2. We had one at last SEG meeting. This year the SEG is going to be in Denver in October. And what this means is that we're going to have signs around. People can come in and do some hacking of the wiki. You want to put something in there, you think that there's stuff maybe from your organization or company that would be contributable to, we're not doing WikiLeaks here, so it's got to be with permission. You have to have permission from your employer, But we are interested in getting content into the wiki. So thank you again for another great year. I would invite you to take a look at those web addresses, look at the wiki address, and I think if there are any questions, we'll just go into the business meeting. Thank you.